Hey everyone, it's Liz, the Frugal Libertarian from frugallibertarian.com. Welcome to my channel, welcome to another video. I have to take off the frugal hat for a moment and put on the libertarian hat. So I apologize to anyone if this is not the type of video you were looking to see, if you wanted to see a store haul, if you wanted to hear about my organizational systems that save me money, if you wanted to hear about couponing, if you wanted to hear those things, please go to my other videos on the channel if you don't want to hear anything about politics today. I am a libertarian, clearly, or I wouldn't be calling myself the frugal libertarian. Libertarianism is, in its core, a philosophy that we are better off when we govern ourselves. We believe that our lives are better off with less government intruding into it. From the minute we wake up to the minute we go to sleep, and even while we're asleep, government is affecting our lives. It's affecting everything we do. I mean, even the camera I'm recording this on and the chair I'm sitting on, government had a hand in. That's disturbing. That shouldn't exist. And I'm a libertarian. My husband and I are actually both libertarians, and for a long time we didn't know what libertarianism was. We were just saying we were independent and leaving it with that. It wasn't until 2008 when we saw Ron Paul debating in the Republican primary that we went, we found him. We found our politician. We found the guy we're gonna follow. I always call Ron Paul like the libertarian Pied Piper because he talks and we all just kind of follow along. And that's the truth. He is such an inspiration for libertarians. And we immediately went from independent to libertarian, and we've been there ever since. It has nothing to do with, people think it's like greed and selfishness. I don't think it's greed or selfishness to want to keep what you've earned. I don't think it's greed and selfishness to want to own your own property and take care of it. I don't believe it's greed or selfishness believing that you should take responsibility for yourself and your own individual actions and choices and not force others to be harmed by it or to suffer by it. I'm sick of this election. I'm sick of it. I want it to be over with. Honestly, if we could do the voting tomorrow, I would do it. I am so sick of this election. No surprise, I'm a libertarian. I support and I'm voting for Gary Johnson. I voted for Gary Johnson in 2012. This election is bringing out the worst in people. However, it's the worst in people slanted one direction. Maybe it's because I'm from Connecticut and I was raised in Connecticut, and Connecticut is a blue state. But the majority of the people I knew growing up that I'm still in contact with today through Facebook, through email, just through friendship, the majority are liberals. And they're Democrat voting liberals, the majority. I also work in the arts, and I'm a member of the arts, and people in the arts tend to run liberal and vote Democrat. My Facebook feed is about 60% liberal, about 25% conservative, and about 15% libertarian, because there are other libertarians out there in the world. Me and my husband aren't the only one, even in Connecticut. Over the years, I've seen a shift actually, and that libertarian number has grown, especially in this election year, because people are just so fed up with the two-party system and the two-party system candidates that they're all jumping ship and going third party. So my percentage of libertarian used to be like 5%, and now it's grown into 15%. So that's something I think is positive. But because of this, and again, I don't know if maybe it's just the conservatives I'm friends with or who I interact with, not even not on a daily basis, but on a regular basis. The conservatives, it could just be my group. as much as, like I said, this election seems to bring out the worst in people, the conservatives are not, I shouldn't say conservatives, I should say Trump supporting conservatives are not being the problem. The worst I'm hearing from a Trump supporter is your vote for Gary Johnson means Trump will lose. It's going to be your fault if he loses. Which always makes me kind of laugh. And I hear, yes, of course, I also hear Hillary supporters saying the same thing. If you don't vote for Hillary, Trump will win. You don't want Trump to win, right? Yes to both of those questions. I don't want Hillary to win. And I don't want Trump to win. I want Gary Johnson to win. That's why I'm voting for him. And you may think it's a long shot. You may think it'll never happen in a million years. But guess what? He's the person I genuinely want to have the job. Libertarians as a whole tend to be idealistic. We tend to want perfection. Libertarian perfection. Unfortunately, libertarian perfection doesn't exist. So yeah, I would say actually Ron Paul comes close to libertarian perfection. He's not absolutely perfect libertarian perfection, but he's close. So there are a lot of things that Gary Johnson says, one way or another, that libertarians don't like. So not every libertarian is behind him, but I am. So when people say to me, if you don't vote for my candidate, if my candidate loses, it's your fault. And if my candidate loses and this other person wins, you don't want that, do you? Well, you're right, I don't want that. But I'm not going to vote for somebody I actually don't want to hold the office just because you're saying bad things could happen if you don't. You know, I'm not that kind of person. I vote based on who I actually want to have the job. That is the worst I have gotten from Trump supporters, is if you don't vote for him and he loses, it's your fault. That's the worst. The worst. This election cycle has brought out the disgusting underbelly of the Democratic Party and of liberals in general. I have never before unfriended people on Facebook like I have in the last year. I have been called every insult in the book by liberals. I've been called sexist, which I think is funny. I think the worst one was I was called, and I'm sorry for using the actual words. I apologize ahead of time. If you don't like to hear language, plug up your ears. The worst one, I was called a fucking racist bitch for pointing out that Denmark and the United States are completely different countries, and what works there wouldn't work here because the United States has more in common with the EU than it does with Denmark. Each state is like its own individual country, and they all come together for some overriding benefit, but each individual state is its own little mini country, and each individual state has its own geography and topography, has its own racial mixture, has its own cultural mixture, has its own religious mixture. There's a huge difference between New York City and Austin, Texas, or New York City and Seattle, Washington, in terms of all of the above. There's a huge difference between that and New York City and Mobile, Alabama, or Miami, Florida. Huge differences. And you can't compare the two. You can't compare the United States to a very specific one of the Scandinavian countries, because we have more in common with the EU than we do with a single country in the EU. For that, I was called a fucking racist bitch. By the way, I said the United States is too large and diverse to be a comparison. It's comparing apples to oranges. I said that, and the day before, President Obama had said it. Yet I was a fucking racist bitch. Been trying to shut up anybody who speaks against Hillary Clinton or against Bernie Sanders. There's been the whole offensive speech garbage that's been coming out of this. There's so much just awfulness coming out of this election. And again, most of it is coming from the left. It's not as much coming from the right. And the left always likes to say things like, you know, Hillary Clinton's basket of deplorables, or whatever the exact phrase was to describe the Trump supporters. Does she not see that her side is equally bad? Does she just ignore them completely? Like, you're calling them a basket of deplorables. You've got people who say they don't care what Bill Clinton does to women because it's important to have a female president. That makes no sense to me. You know, you can't say that you're a feminist and you support women, and when you support returning Bill Clinton to his original stomping grounds, to his original hunting grounds, you know, full of young interns who have, and he has nothing to do all day except the interns. You really think that's okay? And they're saying, I'm fine with it as long as Hillary gets elected, I don't care. Is there something wrong with you? Like, oh, that's just, to me, it's disgusting. I had a Bernie Sanders supporter tell me to check my privilege when discussing poverty solutions and why I didn't think socialism was a poverty solution, because it makes everybody equally poor instead of allowing people to rise up, and that more government is not the solution to the problems caused by big government. The solution is like, oh, the government is too big and too intrusive, so let's make it even bigger to fix it. Like, no, that doesn't work that way. And so I was told to check my privilege because I didn't grow up a poor black child down in Mississippi. So I have no ability to offer solutions to poverty problems, to the problems that cause poverty, or discuss poverty at all, because I have to check my privilege. At which point I said, aren't you supporting a rich old white man? This entire election, so far, it has been nothing from the left, but I'm gonna insult you personally. I'm going to say whatever I can say to shut you up, because I don't even want to hear what you have to say. And that's a problem. That's a genuine, real problem. The whole label of sexism, it was a Huffington Post article that they said, let's be honest, the only reason you're not voting for Hillary is because you're sexist. That's it. So I said to the person that put that up on Facebook, I said, so basically you just don't want to even have a discussion. You want to shut up the other person by leveling a personal insult, because that's what you do when you level a personal insult of that magnitude. You're basically saying to the other person, I want you to shut up. I don't want to hear what you have to say. I'm not willing to debate. I'm not willing to discuss. I don't want anything. I just want you to shut up. And so I started pointing out, here are the reasons I don't like Hillary Clinton. And I started listing them and saying I disagree with her on this policy, this policy, this policy, this policy. I don't think we should have free college. I don't think we should have free childcare. I don't think any of those things are free to begin with. And I don't think they should be, air quote, free. I don't think we should have boots on the ground in Syria. I don't agree that Paul Kagame is a global citizen and deserves a humanitarian award. There are a lot of things I disagree with former Secretary Clinton on. None of them have to do with her vagina. None. But no, I'm sexist. So I said to the person, well, all you're doing, or I wrote to the person, I said, all you're doing when you put up this kind of garbage is you're trying to shut people up. You don't want to have a discussion. You don't want to have any part of it. You just want them to shut up and go away. This woman did the worst possible thing you can do when you're being accused of trying to shut down a dialogue, and she deleted my comment. So I deleted our friendship. And by the way, if you're going to turn around and say you can't compare, you can't blame Hillary for Bill's sins, I'm going to remind you of something that they said back in 1992. When Bill was running for office in 92, they said they were a package deal, that you got a 2-for-1 with that vote, because you were getting two people who were going to work hard for you and for your vote. So if you vote for Bill, you also get Hillary for free. How's that working out for you now? What are you going to say? Because Bill is a political liability, that statement they made back then no longer exists or is no longer valid? Are you kidding? Now that he is the liability, you don't want it that way? Come on now. Hillary Clinton lies about everything. She jumps from one side to the other, and she's not even nice about it. Like, when people interviewing her brought up, when made you change your mind on gay marriage, she will argue with them and yell about how she's always believed in gay marriage. She's always believed in marriage equality. How dare this interviewer say and spread this misinformation that she didn't support it, because she's always supported it. No, she hasn't. And there's video footage proving that she hasn't. In fact, she didn't start supporting it until, what, 2015? I mean, it's a joke. And yet they'll sit there and say, no, she's honest. No, she's good. No, she's not. She's not corrupt. She's very corrupt. You just don't want to see it because you're blinded by the magic vagina, apparently. And I will not vote based on genitals. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it. I'm not voting for somebody based on what is inside of their pantsuit. The two-party system should be abolished. It really should. We should have 7, 8 people up on that stage. In fact, I don't even like the idea of running mates. I think we should go back to the way they did it in the beginning, which was the person who wins the most votes is president, and the person who makes the second place is vice president. Gridlock is a good thing. Gridlock was intended so that the government would be stopped from continuing to grow. And then now we talk about gridlock and how we can't come to an agreement like it's a bad thing. It's a good thing. The less the government can agree to do, the less the government's doing. And the less it's hurting us. It's a good thing. And honestly, that's how I feel about all this. Get rid of the two-party system. Get rid of the requirements to be on stage. The only requirement to be on stage in a debate should be that you're on the ballot in enough states that you have the ability to win due to votes. That's it. Or due to potential votes, I should say. And that's the joke of the debate system. Debates are for undecided voters. They're for people who aren't sure what they want to do yet. So why is it the requirement to get into the debate is the result of some telephone polls, which, by the way, not all of them included third-party candidates, and not all of them contained the demographic. The majority of them didn't have the demographic 18 to 34. Apparently, the people from 18 to 34 don't matter. You know why they didn't include that? Because those are the people who are more likely to vote third party. Apparently, last week I was 34. This week I'm 35. Apparently, when my birthday hit, I suddenly became a person who has the right to voice my political opinion, according to these polls. It's a joke. The two parties love each other because they're both working together. The two of them are buddies, and they're buddies to the point where they want to shut everybody else out. I am so sick of this. I want this all to end. I want it to end. I am so fed up with the biting. I'm so fed up with the name calling. I'm so fed up with everything going on in this election. I just want it over with. Hopefully my guy comes out on top, because the polls were so restrictive that we didn't get an accurate idea of how many people actually are going to vote for him. How about after the first debate, it went from, what was it, percentage supporting Hillary's, percentage supporting Trump, and percentage of people neither won that poll. Neither. Because nobody likes them. And that's the party's fault, as far as I'm concerned. If it's not us third-party voters ruining the election for your candidate, it's your crappy candidate losing the election because they should. That's the truth. That's what they don't understand. That's what these people who say that stuff about how third-party candidates, third-party voters, your vote doesn't count, or you're ruining the election. Why do you think, if I didn't have the third-party option, why do you think I would vote for your candidate? Explain it to me. Because I wouldn't. I just wouldn't be voting. I'd say screw it and I wouldn't vote. Because I cannot have a clear conscience and vote for the two people you guys have put up. It's not my fault. It's your fault. Honestly, I hope in 2 weeks that Johnson just sweeps all of you. That the people who weren't being polled or being denied the right to choose the person that they were going to vote for in the poll, he comes out as a sleeper and just screws everybody and becomes president. That would be fantastic. That would be fantastic. And that's actually the future I want, which is why I'm voting for him. So this is Liz, the frugal libertarian is the word du jour today. Please subscribe. We've got more videos coming out on frugality and family, as well as some more on freedom, probably post-election when I can finally talk about stuff without getting super angry. I've got some videos coming up. I've got a giveaway going on right now that's over November 25th. So if you haven't seen that video, jump on over and watch that. I'll include a link to it in the description so that you can go and watch it and enter the giveaway. So please subscribe. If you enjoy this video, hit like. If you agree with me, leave a comment. If you disagree with me, leave a comment. If I just totally pissed you off and you want to call me names, leave a comment. That's fine. It's not like you can call me anything other people haven't. So anyway, have an awesome day. Go visit the blog, frugallibertarian.com. I will talk to you soon. Have an awesome day, buddies.